Hello and welcome to Emergency Medicine Topics in One Coffee. I'm Alan Giles, an emergency physician, and today's topic is perhaps a little bit surprising. It's bullying and harassment in the workplace and an introduction to the Vanderbilt approach. So, in just about every workplace, there are episodes of bullying and harassment. The hospitals are no different, and emergency departments are certainly no different. There is a little bit of difference between bullying and harassment. If we look at harassment, harassment is where there's a behaviour that is offensive, it's intimidating, it's humiliating, it's threatening, and it's done because of a person's particular physical characteristic. And to give an example, we can see this example just coming up now. Okay, what are you doing? Now look, it's not going to work if you don't turn it on. If you don't know how to use it, don't use it. Look, why don't you just go back to where you bloody came from? There you go. Whilst bullying is a little bit different, it's when someone repeatedly victimizes, offends and humiliates you. And this is a risk to your health and well-being and your safety. Now, the most obvious ones of these would be the physical harm. So if someone's pushing you, punching, of course, that goes into bullying. But yelling, obscenities, screaming at you, that's bullying. But some are less obvious, a little bit more subtle. How about sending threatening emails or offensive emails? Or even something which you may not sort of have realized, which is things like spreading rumors and gossip, like we see in this video here. Hey, okay. Now let's have a look. Turn this bloody bit thing on. There you go.
Oh, sweet.
Hey, we've got a couple of minutes until it comes in. Hey, did you hear about Cheryl?
What about Cheryl?
Well, allegedly.
Yeah.
She's been going off with John. Yeah, no, John.
Not her husband.
No, it's not her husband.
It's not the first time for what I've heard either.
I wouldn't want to, but I agree, it's certainly not the first time.
Yeah.
Won't be the last.
Anyway,
let's get this stuff together in a couple of minutes before recess comes in. Okay, you happy?
I'm ready.
Fantastic.
Let's go.
So, in medicine, if you reflect on your time in working in an emergency department or in the hospital generally, almost certainly that you've either been the victim of some bullying or harassment or you have witnessed it done to others. Certainly if I look back from my career as going from a medical student to a junior doctor to a registrar to a consultant, yeah, I would have been victim to some degree of harassment at that time through one of those phases. And certainly I know that there are emergency departments and there are senior doctors in emergency departments in Australia, in Sydney, where, yeah, there's been bullying and there has been harassment. So are emergency departments more prone to it than other places? Well, no one really quite knows. You would think that perhaps it isn't because you're working as a close team, you work together. However, of course, you're working under high pressure, repeated pressure, and that may increase the chances of getting bullying and harassment. And that brings us to the Vanderbilt approach. Vanderbilt is Vanderbilt University, it has a cognitive institute next to it, and they developed a system that was based around inappropriate senior doctor behaviours and a way to approach that in a constructive way. So the core part of it is that there is an anonymous platform where if you see something inappropriately done that you think might be bullying and harassment, say, I started abusing a cardiology registrar in the middle of the emergency department. I wouldn't do that. However, say I did, then chances are a number of people will anonymously put onto this framework that they've witnessed this inappropriate action. So these are all go into the system and they are triaged by a group of staff who triage and look at it and say, well, this sort of inappropriate action we need to address. So if it was a senior doctor, say it was me and I did that, then there would be allocated specific senior doctors, senior nurses, senior other health workers that would come down, and one of them would tap me on the shoulder and have a chat. And essentially they would say, look, do you recall doing this? And let's talk about it, and let's reflect on what happened. But as part of that reflection, they say, look, what you're doing is inappropriate, and it doesn't reflect the core values of the institution. And this is important, it's the core values of the institution. It's not just that they've got a phrase up there, we care, patients first, quality is our number one priority. They actually follow through on it, and they will alter the behavior of those that are doing something inappropriate. So what happens when this occurs? Well, 80% of people who get tapped on the shoulder and have a chat, it never occurs again. They never have another episode where they come to anyone's attention. Mind you, remember that this is only a small number of people that you're starting with. Most people never get tapped on the shoulder. Not surprisingly, about 13% need to go to their inline manager and have a more serious discussion. And that leaves a smaller percentage where you have true disciplinary hearings and dismissals. And that's important. It's important that you actually say, well, if you need to be dismissed repetitively doing inappropriate behavior, we're going to do it. So let's go locally. In Australia, most famously following the tragic death of one of the nursing staff at Royal Melbourne Hospital, they brought on a Vanderbilt approach. And from this, they are finding that there's a change in culture in Royal Melbourne from being what is allegedly being a very bad culture. And allegedly this nurse was bullied by medical staff, and this was component to why they took their own life. One thing I just want to go back on is does it work? Yes, it decreases the amount of bad behaviour, especially in senior doctors. However, interestingly, they also get improved quality outcomes. So Vanderbilt hospitals, and there are a number that have taken this on in the States, get better quality outcomes. They get shorter length of stay, they get better specific quality outcomes in their hospital. So the insurance people in the States love it. Okay. Look, I think that'll just about do for bullying and harassment, and just a brief introduction to the Vanderbilt approach in one coffee. Cheers. I'll see you next time.